Oh yes, I forgot. I'm a part-time furry now. Anyway, I think I'm gonna play some Spyro now. You'd better not. Whoa, who are you? I'm you from the future. Go outside. Okay, in a minute. No, not in a minute. It can't wait. Why, what happens? No time to explain. You're outside now.
What? Hey, look!
A movie. Who doesn't love a good movie? I love movies, especially if they're good. Hey look, a video game. Who doesn't love video games, besides my mom? Shouldn't these two great things make something great when they're combined? Yeah. So why did so many of them suck? Did you know that there used to be a ton of video games based on movies and shows, made by very talented developers for the purpose of cross-promoting the movie or show, but they were terrible more often than they weren't? Because there were, and if you grew up gaming anywhere from the late 90s to early 2010s, unlike me, chances are you owned at least a few licensed games on your PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, original Xbox, Xbox 360, Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U, Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, Nintendo Game Boy, or Rusted Potato. Primarily in the 2000s, every kid's movie under the sun got a video game that decade. From minigame collections masquerading as actual games to actual games, if there was an actual good game on the shelves at your local GameStop, you would ignore it without a second thought. Why? Because, whoa, does that game have Shrek on the cover? 8-year-old you thought you spent your savings wisely. You didn't. But did you care? No. Because that game had Shrek on the cover. Kids have pretty low standards as it is, so they ate these kinds of games up. Every so often there was a diamond in the rough, but after the 2000s kids had their time, say 2012 to 2014, video game tie-ins became a dying phenomenon. Studios that used to put out games based on their movies all the time, like DreamWorks and Pixar, opted to not do that anymore. Releasing a tie-in mobile game at the most, and that would be all. Full-fledged console or PC games would become the exception and not the rule. And even if one came out, it would probably be based on a movie that was more notably merchandisable. Don't believe me? Well then why do you think Pixar's last cross-promotional console game was a racing game based on Cars 3? And why was that game surprisingly good? It's almost like games with a lot of potential to serve their purpose very well won't suck if they're not rushed or forced to compete with any other games of their kind. Yay, I've gotten to the point! At the same time as video game movies get surprisingly promising, so too do movie video games, even though that's probably a coincidence. Back in January, we got SpongeBob the Cosmic Shake, a 3D platformer that acts as a spiritual successor to the game the character is best known for, and a nice return to his roots for the world of video games, which translates those roots very well into modern gaming, paves the way for a bright future for his games in doing so, and as such is praised by many die-hard fans as one of, if not the highest point of the character's console career. The Crash Bandicoot 4 of SpongeBob games, if you will. Yes, Cosmic Shake is a licensed game that was released in 2023, but not in celebration or cross-promotion of anything other than the show itself, and possibly the 20th anniversary of Battle for Bikini Bottom? As far as I'm aware, it was made just to create a quality follow-up to SpongeBob's most iconic video game 20 years after it came and went, and a load of other mediocre games fumbled the character. Ooh, another Crash 4 parallel, look at that! It seemed rare to have not just a licensed game, but a good one in this day and age. However, quite a number of licensed games have been announced since the release of that one. Not too long ago, Nickelodeon unveiled All-Star Brawl 2, a sequel to their Smash Bros. Clone with a roster that consists of Nicktoon characters old and new. Disney just released a new Mickey Mouse game on the Switch, and DreamWorks has announced not one, but 2 new games. Trolls Remix Rescue, a 3D platformer based on the movies, and DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. The studio's first crossover kart racer in years. But why are we getting all these new licensed games at once? Money? Well, yes, but part of the reason licensed games have become a dry well over the past decade was to save money. What's changed here? On one hand, the idea with all these new licensed games is a genuine desire to make them. I'm trying not to call these new games tie-in games, since they don't actually seem like they're being made for cross-promotional purposes. The Trolls game is a possible exception since Trolls 3 is coming out in November and the game is supposed to be out before the end of this year, but apart from that, these games seem like they're being made for better reasons. Some of it is satisfying people's nostalgia, and some of it is attracting new fans. If you put Lucy Loud and Nigel Thornberry in the same game, let alone make it possible for them to fight to the death, then you're bound to get the attention of Nickelodeon fans young and old. People who played the old DreamWorks Kart Racer will probably want to play the new one. Not just for the nostalgia, but because pop culture has evolved in some very unique ways. When Galactic Dance-Off for the Kinect came out in 2010, we thought that this was a disgrace to God. But in a post-Rise of Skywalker world, we've kinda learned to count our blessings, and after meme culture evolved into a Shrek cult, we realized that this is perfect. And after people started worshipping the Shrek franchise, people looked back on the movies without the nostalgia goggles and realized just how great the movies really are. Maybe Shrek didn't need to come back, but he made his mark for a reason. But then along came Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. which was not only an incredible movie in its own right, but it made the perfect blueprint for a modern Shrek reboot. Movies like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish are living proof that if you wait for enough time to pass, you'll have enough genuinely good ideas to revive a franchise with a fresh coat of paint, even if a revival sounds like a terrible idea on paper. Now people unironically want Shrek 5, and guess what? Now it's actually happening. With Shrek, Puss, and many more of the studio's best-known icons playable in the game, a modern DreamWorks kart racer is legitimately loaded with potential. Even the Trolls game seems like they wanted to make it. It's the kind of game that probably would have sucked if it came out 10 years ago, and maybe I'm just saying this as a platformer fan, but the screenshots and everything make it look, dare I say, fun? With all that said, it doesn't look like licensed games are going to start popping up as often as they did in the 2000s. But you know what, I'd rather they don't. It's best if these games start to come out more often, but not so much that they're repeatedly rushed out to promote their movies. I think it's nice to see licensed games pop up more often nowadays, not because they need to promote every movie on Earth, but because the games were made with the same passion and desire to create that went into the movies they're based on. You can make a Nickelodeon Smash Bros. Clone or a DreamWorks racing game, and if it's given the time and care it needs, not only can it be something great for the kids to play, but an awesome source of nostalgia, fan service, and just raw enjoyment for the older crowd. In summary, I like the direction that licensed games are headed in, even if Hollywood itself is a different story right now, and I'm still outside, what the hell?